Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our first production of So del Scole. So del Scole is Southern Delaware Scole Group. It is a brand new co-op that we just started this year, and we're very thankful for what the Lord is doing, for who He's brought to our group, and for what we've been able to do over the last couple of months, and we're very excited to be able to share it with you. So thank you for coming tonight. Together on Friday mornings and at home as families, we've been reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, so we thought it would be fun to retell that familiar story in a fresh way. So we've literally taken excerpts of dialogue from the book, and the kids have been working hard to memorize those lines and to block. And so we have a very simple, short production for you tonight, but thank you for giving us an opportunity to present it and to share. So we're going to open in a word of prayer, and then we will get started, and it'll be over before you know it. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for what you have done to bring our group to this point tonight. God, thank you for each of the families represented. Thank you for the work that has gone into this. And God, it's not much, but we offer it to you. We pray that you would be honored and glorified and pleased with it. Thank you for this story. Thank you for the picture of so many good pictures of redemption and sacrificial love and forgiveness, God, that are present if we have eyes to see them. And so thank you for this story. Thank you for the opportunity we have to retell it tonight. I pray that you would be pleased. In your name I pray. Amen. This is the story of Narnia, a land quite unlike our own. And yet, as we tell its story tonight, you may find some similarities between the two. According to the author, these similarities are unintentional, but we found them to be helpful in understanding both our world and Narnia. In the land of Narnia, we find a struggle between good and evil, represented in Aslan the lion and Jadis the white witch. The creatures of Narnia, like the beavers, have all chosen one of these two sides. In our land, we have 4 siblings: Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy Pevensey, who find themselves in Narnia quite by accident, by which means I'm sure you are all too familiar. The children must choose sides too, and their choices, as we will see, determine the course of events. But first, they have to try to make sense of the magic of Narnia. The youngest sibling, Lucy, was the first to enter this magical land, and she encounters the good, while her brother Edmund enters and encounters the evil. Once outside of Narnia, the two sides collide. As we open this evening, the oldest 2 siblings, Peter and Susan, are speaking to Professor Didgery Kirk to try to reconcile their siblings' accounts. His response isn't what they expected, but nor was his wardrobe what they expected either.
How do you know that your sister's story is not true?
Oh, but Edmund said they'd only been pretending.
That is a point which certainly deserves consideration, very careful consideration. For instance, if you will excuse me for asking the question, does your experience lead you to regard your brother or your sister as the more reliable? I mean, which is the more truthful?
That's just the funny thing about it. Up till now, I had said Lucy every time.
And what do you think, my dear?
Well, in general, I'd say the same as Peter, but all this couldn't be true about the wood and the fawn.
That is more than I know, and a charge of lying against someone whom you have always found truthful is a very serious thing indeed.
We were afraid it mightn't be lying. We thought there might be something wrong with Lucy.
Madness, you mean? Oh, you can make your minds easy about that. One only has to look at her and talk to her to see that she is not mad.
But then...
Logic! Why don't they teach logic at these schools? There are only 3 possibilities. Either your sister is telling lies, or she is mad, or she is telling the truth. You know she doesn't tell lies, and it is obvious that she is not mad. For the moment then, and unless any further evidence turns up, we must assume that she is telling the truth.
But do you really mean, sir, that there could be other worlds all over the place just around the corner like that?
Well, what has that to do with it?
Well, sir, things are real. They're there all the time.
Are they?
There was no time. Lucy had no time to have gone anywhere, even if there was such a place. She came running after us the very moment we were out of the room. It was less than a minute, and yet she had pretended to have been away for hours.
That is the very thing that makes her story so likely to be true. If there really is a door in this house that leads to some other world, and I should warn you that this is a very strange house, and even I know very little about it, if I say she had got into another world, I should not be at all surprised to find that the other world had a separate time of its own, so that however long you stayed there, it would never take up any of our time. On the other hand, I don't think many girls of her age would invent that idea for themselves. If she had been pretending, she would have hidden for a reasonable time before coming out and telling her story.
But do you really mean, sir, that there could be other worlds all over the place just around the corner like that?
Nothing is more probable. I wonder, what do they teach them at these schools?
The professor's logical perspective helped settle the matter for the time being. A little while later, and again quite by accident, the children find themselves in Narnia all together this time. They encounter evidence of the struggle between good and evil and are quickly forced to take sides by trusting a talking beaver. In his home, Mr. Beaver explains a good many things to the children about the good and evil in Narnia.
Tell us about Aslan! Who is Aslan?
Aslan, why don't you know? He's the lord of the whole wood, son of the emperor beyond the sea. But not often here, you see, not in my time or my father's time. But word has reached us that he's here. He's come back. He's in Narnia at this very moment. He'll settle the White Queen, all right.
Won't she turn him into stone?
Turn him into stone? Lord love you, son of Adam. What a simple thing to say. She can stand on her own 2 feet and look him in the eyes. It'll be the most she can do, and more than I expect of her. No, he'll settle things all right. As it says in the old rhymes in these parts, wrong will be right when Aslan comes in sight. At the sound of his roar, sorrows will be no more. When he bares his teeth, winter meets its death, and when he shakes his mane, we shall have spring again. You'll understand when you see him.
But shall we see him?
Why, daughter of Eve, that's what I've brought you here for. I'm to take you to where you shall meet him.
Is he a man?
Aslan? A man? Certainly not. I tell you, he's the king of the whole wood, son of the emperor beyond the sea. Don't you know who the king of beasts is? Aslan is a lion. The great lion.
Oh, I thought he was a man. Is he quite safe? I shall feel rather nervous about meeting a lion.
That you will, dearie, and there's no mistake if there's anyone who can appear before Aslan without their knees knocking. They're either braver than most or else just silly.
Then he isn't safe?
Safe? Don't you hear what Mrs. Beaver tells you? Who said anything about safe? Of course he isn't safe, but he's good. He's the king, I tell you.
I'm longing to see him, even if I feel frightened when it comes to the point.
That's right, son of Adam, and so you shall. For we need you too, as it says in another one of the old rhymes. When Adam's flesh and Adam's bone sits at Cair Paravel throne, the evil times will be over and done. So now things must be drawing near to their end now that he's come and you've come.
At this point in the story, evil gains an upper hand. Edmund, who had encountered the White Witch upon his first visit to Narnia, decides to return to her to betray his brother and sisters, thus thwarting the prophecies of old. Sides have been chosen, and lines have been drawn, brother against brother. The beavers quickly take the other 3 children to safety with Aslan. Along the way, They meet an unexpected stranger.
Come out, sons and daughters of Adam. It's all right. It isn't her. This is the nifty knock with the White Witch. It looks as if her power is already crumbling.
What do you mean, Mrs. Beaver?
Didn't I tell you she'd made it always winter and never Christmas? Didn't I tell you? Well, just come and see. It's Father Christmas.
I have come at last. She has kept me out for a long time, but I got in at last. Aslan is on the move. The witch's power is weakening. And now, for your presents. Peter, Adam's son. These are your presents. The time to use them is perhaps near at hand. Bear them well. Susan, Eve's daughter. These are for you. The bow is only to be used in great need. For I do not intend for you to fight in the battle. It does not easily miss. And now, this horn. When you put it to your lips and blow, if we can find it in here, there we go. When you put it to your lips and blow, wherever you are, I believe help will find you. Lucy, Eve's daughter. In this bottle is cordial made from the fire flowers found on the mountains of the sun. If you or any of your friends are hurt, a few drops of this will restore them. And this dagger is also only to be used in great need, for you also are not to fight in the battle. And now, something for the moment. Merry Christmas to you all. Long live the true king.
The very appearance of Father Christmas in Narnia signals a turning of the tide. Aslan is on the move, and he brings spring and good with him. But evil must be reconciled. Edmund's treachery must not go unpunished. The deep magic of Narnia will determine which side prevails.
You have a traitor there, Aslan.
Well, his offense is not against you.
Have you forgotten the deep magic?
Let us say I have forgotten. Tell us of this deep magic.
Tell you, you know that every traitor belongs to me as my lawful prey.
Go on.
And so that human creature is mine. His blood is my property. Unless I have blood as the law says, all Narnia will be overturned and perish in fire and water.
It is true. I do not deny it. Fall back, all of you. I will talk to the witch alone.
It was a terrible time, this waiting and wondering, while the lion and the witch talked earnestly together in low voices. At last, all heard Aslan's voice.
I have settled the matter. She's renounced the claim on your brother's blood.
But how do we know this promise will be kept?
The sides separate for a short time, seeming to prepare for battle. But the fight is not what anyone expected. That night, Aslan willingly submits himself to the evil, giving himself as a sacrifice on Edmund's behalf. It appears evil has triumphed over good.
Thou who as one fool who have lost your own life and not saved his, and not knowledge, despair, and die.
With Aslan now dead, the witch leads her evil host in an attack on the remaining forces of good. Susan and Lucy are left behind to grieve and to try to make sense of their loss. Toward morning, the stone table cracks, and the body of Aslan mysteriously disappears. The girls don't know what to think.
Oh, it's too bad. They might have left his body alone. Who's done it? What does it mean? Is it more magic?
Yes, more magic.
Oh, Aslan! Aren't you dead then, dear Aslan?
Not now.
You're not a ghost?
Do I look it?
Oh, you're real! Oh, Aslan! But what does it all mean?
It means that though the witch knew a deep magic, there is a deeper magic still that she did not know. Her knowledge only goes back to the dawn of time. But if she could have looked deeper into the stillness and darkness before time dawned, she would have read there a different incantation, which read, "When a willing victim who has committed no treachery was killed in the traitor's stead, the table would crack and death itself would begin working backwards." And now,
Yes, now?
oh children, I feel my strength coming back to me. You'd better put your fingers in your ears. Roar.
Aslan rallies his troops and leads them into battle. Go ahead, Peter. Aslan ultimately defeats the White Witch and evil for good. Good has triumphed over evil once and for all, but the battle leaves many wounded and in need of healing.
Quick, Lucy. Go. Go ahead, Peter. Oh, sorry.
It was all Edmund's doing. Aslan, he sends to bring a sword, smashing it down on our wand. He is badly wounded. We must go see him.
Quick, Lucy. Daughter of Eve, others are also at the point of death. Must others die for Edmund?
Yes, I know. Wait a minute.
Daughter of Eve.
I'm sorry, Aslan.
With Lucy's magical potion from Father Christmas and Aslan's mighty breath, they bring complete restoration to the land of Narnia and its creatures. One prophecy has been fulfilled.
Does Edmund know what Aslan did for him? What the agreement with the witch really was?
To get crowned.
No, of course not. Oughtn't he to be told? Oh, surely no. It would be too awful for him. How do you think you would feel if you were he?
And then the second prophecy was fulfilled.
Long live King Peter! Long live Queen Susan! Long live King Edmund! Long live Queen Lucy!
Once a king or queen in Narnia, always a king or queen in Narnia. Bear it well, sons of Adam. Bear it well, daughters of Eve.
With newfound strength and purpose, the children begin a reign of good in Narnia. They follow in Aslan's footsteps, but are concerned to find his physical presence gone.
It's quite all right. He'll be coming and going. Only you mustn't press him. He's wild, you know. Not like a tame lion.
The children rule long and well in Narnia, and good prevails in the land. Many years later, they find themselves in the same place where the story began. But they themselves are not the same, at least, not on the inside. They take their stories of adventure and desire for more back to Professor Didgeridoo Kirk outside of the wardrobe, and he once again surprises them with his response. No.
Well, you won't get into Narnia again by that route, nor would the coats be much use by now if you did. Of course, you'll get back into Narnia someday. Once a king in Narnia, always a king in Narnia. But don't go trying to use the same route twice. Indeed, don't try to get there at all. It'll happen when you're not looking for it. But keep your eyes open. Bless, what do they teach them at these schools?
And that concludes our performance.
Hold on.
So let's give a hand to Peter, Susan, Lucy, and Edmund Pevensey. Professor Didgeridoo Kirk, Father Christmas, and the Creatures of Narnia. Mrs. Beaver and Jadis, the White Witch. Take your bow. And Aslan the Lion.
And the director, Karen Barbro.
Thank you. Well done, guys. Deep breath. You did it. I'm very proud of each and every one of you. Thank you again for coming this evening. I do want to say a special thanks to Miranda Marlowe. She very much pinched hit for us today and stepped into this role this morning. So we appreciate her, and I'm very proud of each of them and the hard work that they've put into it. So thank you again for joining us this evening. You are dismissed. Good job, guys. Good job.